Hello friends, you're with the Lonesome Gamer and I'm playing Civilization. Now, in the last video we've seen the first turns. We made it through the Stone Age, the new Stone Age. Egypt managed to build its two cities and therefore was allowed to proceed now in the early Bronze Age. The others are still in the Stone Age. Babylon was actually willing to hold back to make this attack here onto Assyria, and that is right now the only area where we actually had conflict. And this is going to be an interesting situation here in general because, yeah, if you look at it, it kind of seems like that Babylon managed to win quite a bit of space here, you know, to kind of divide these two Assyrian forces. But then again, you know, Assyria can now strike back, and if Babylon doesn't want to wait another turn, they have to build two cities in this turn, and that's what they're probably going to do. So that makes them, of course, again vulnerable to a possible reaction of the Assyrians here. In the west, we have Thrace moving down in a broad front here. They're really doing well. Crete has the expected troubles. Remember, they have to build ships to get off this island, and that's not going to be easy. And so they have just one city here and then only this small colony here on the Peloponnese. But they're not hopeless or something. That's a normal start for them. So let's start the next turn, and we do I'm gonna do the taxation and the population expansion right now. Okay, now after the census, now for the first time we can actually see some real differences here. Last time all but Crete had, I think, the same amount of people. Now, after we've seen the first cities show up, Thrace is pretty far ahead. Assyria and Babylon are, interestingly, even after that conflict, they have the same number of people, and then we see Italy, Egypt, and Crete. And that's going to be also the order in which the movement will occur. So Assyria has to move before Babylon. That's going to be important because of this AST order here. If you're here tied, you follow the AST order. Next point is constructing ships. And so first of all, we have to maintain our ships now. Crete has a ship, and if they want to hold on to that, they had to pay in $1 or one unit here. But I'm pretty sure I don't want to do that right now. So I'm going to lose my ship again. And simply goes back here. And I'm thinking about maybe building a ship with the Romans, but I'm not certain here. I'm going to check that. Okay, now the Roman player has a problem. First of all, there are too many units here. The land cannot sustain them all. So this is only a one point land, and this can only sustain 2. That one is only good for 3 units. So we cannot keep all units without building a boat. I think that's pretty sure. The basic idea could be, if we build a boat here, we could try to move on to these islands, but that's also not I think that is not that great idea, because these islands can only support 1 each, and so we need probably more transportation action to be able to build a city here. And at that time, that's a little expensive. I'm thinking more about maybe bringing a few guys down here into this area, but I'm also not sure about that, to be honest. 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, I could move in here or there. That would at least allow me to leave 2 on that space, and I would gain control of that island then in the next turn. Tough decisions to make. The other problem is, of course, over here, that area. If I take too many of this space, for example, away, Thrace would have a much easier time to attack this space here from here, there, and here. We don't have too much defensive units then there. So these are all things to consider here. Okay, so eventually Rome decided to build a ship here and take some of these guys, not too many, down here onto Sicily. And Thrace also decided to build a ship and probably move to Asia, maybe with the goal to build a city here in this area. Okay, now we come to the movement action, and Thrace goes first because they're here number 1 in census. So what they're going to do is, you can carry up to 5 units with your ships. So they're actually going to move 1, 2, and they're going to disembark here. Going to move back, take 4 more, and then move back again. So now we have 6 units over here, and that will allow the player to build a city here. By the way, what is an interesting point is, you cannot move units and then move them a second time with the ship. So for example, I cannot move that unit in here and then embark it on the ship and move somewhere with the ship. That's not allowed. The unit has to start its movement when it is embarked. Okay, now let's see, we can move here. And okay, I think I might also want to build a city here. So I guess I'm gonna take... I'm not going for conflict with Rome there. I'm gonna place these guys here, move back here. And this guy moves in here. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's cool. This guy moves there, and I might move with these people here. Come a little closer to Crete, which could become a problem for them, but that's actually their problem. These guys might move here, and then I think I'm fine, and I can then build here the next city during the next turn then. Okay, Assyria also wants to build its 2 cities now because they want to enter the early Bronze Age. So what they're going to do is they're going to move with these guys here, with the other 2 here. These guys move there, and these guys move here. And then they're gonna go here because they don't want to leave this space a possible invasion of Thrace, and with them they simply could stay here, I guess. Over here they might move down here, and yeah, they're probably gonna leave these areas just like that. And here we're gonna do it like this. Babylon, well, they also want a few cities built now, and they could do that here. I think that's a good idea. That's 2. And then maybe just like, maybe like that. We got 6 here. And possibly here, that makes sense. Just these guys over there. Okay, let's see what we can do. We might move down here with these, and maybe right there. Maybe this guy can move up here. That gives us an additional population marker then. Okay, fine. So I think Babylon has now claimed its territory here. They gained these 2 fertile areas. And Assyria is also doing very well because they now managed to get the Levante basically. And on the long run, I think Assyria has a much better position than Babylon does. But we're gonna see about that. So Rome is using its boat to move these. Well, basically we can only take yeah, that's fine. We're gonna move these 3 guys out of there. 1, 2. We can drop off 1 here. 3, 4, and then these 2 will stay here. Fine, and then we can try not to lose too many units due to overpopulation. So we might do it like this, for example, and maybe place these guys here. Yeah, that seems like a good idea. I think that's cool. Okay then. Then we see Egypt and finally Crete And that's not going to be that interesting. They're simply going to spread out a little bit. We haven't seen any conflict this turn. And you can see now here we have a city. We have a city here. Over there we have two cities. And we have also two cities here now. So we don't have any surplus population. And that means now each player acquires the trade cards. So that means we start with the lowest player, Crete. They gain one card, Ochre. Next player, Egypt. They gain two cards, so from the first and one from the second deck. And so on. Well, I made a mistake here. Actually, the people with the fewest cities draw first. So that means that Egypt, with two cities, well, first would actually go Italy, because they have the same number of cities as Crete does. But because they are first in the archaeological succession table, they would actually go first. Yeah, exactly. I think I made a mistake there last time. I think I used this reverse AST order, but you're going to use that to acquire a civilization card, not to acquire the trade cards. So that means basically that they get this card, and then Crete ends up with that card, and well, let's see who's next. I think then we're gonna see Thrace, Assyria, Babylon and Egypt. Yeah, that's the order. So we're still not going to see any trade, simply because Crete only has 3 cards, and they won't give away all their 3 cards. It doesn't make a lot of sense for these guys. Babylon has 4, so there a trade could have been useful in some way. Not Babylon, but Egypt. But, well, they have no partner to trade, so therefore that won't happen. Nobody can afford any civilization cards right now. So all that happens is we move on here on the AST. Italy, Thrace, Crete hasn't fulfilled his requirements. They haven't built a second city yet. Assyria is allowed to move on. Babylon is allowed to move on. And Egypt too. And by the way, if we want to now enter the late Bronze Age, and Egypt will have to do that in a short time actually, what we need is, we need civilization cards of 3 colors. So you see all these civilization cards, not all of them, they have different colors. We have here orange, which is kind of craftsmanship. We have green, which is science. We have these more cultural developments of blue. And then finally here, these, well, high culture or state developments, they're called civics, which are pink or red. And some have 2 colors, like mysticism, for example. So that can help you a lot to get over these boundaries there. But there is only a limited number of these. For example, we have only 3 mysticism cards. So there will be probably then a race for these cards. Okay, let's start the next turn now. So Rome has built a second ship up here, trying to move with some guys from here and from there onto this island here. And they maintained their ship here, which allows them also to move a few more on this island, so they can build a city there. Thrace has also maintained its ship here, and they probably want to end up on this island here. They cannot get enough units there to build a city, but at least they can start to colonize this island and maybe in some later turns then build a city there. Okay, overall we're going to see, I guess, a lot of new cities in this turn because population expanded quite a bit, especially in Italy and in Thrace. Yeah, so let's see. Okay, again there is no conflict and we're going to build our cities here. So Rome expands in this area. I tend to play that, well, kind of peaceful usually, as long as it's possible. These guys move in here. Thrace is going to build a city here, and another one there. And Crete is going to build a city here. Now Crete really is low on population. They have 2 cities, which allows them now to move on the AST. But, well, they have only these 2 Oh, wait a second. Holy shit. They're actually not allowed to do that. I forgot that. They need 2 per city to support them. Well, that sucks for them, of course. So I got to find another way here. Okay, so actually we're going to see some conflict here. Otherwise Crete would lose units, and they cannot afford that. I mean, they're going to lose units now anyway, but still that's a better way for them. So just like that. So Crete now managed to gain this space here, which can support exactly 2. But they were not able to build their second city. Now that sucks for them, because that means they lose another turn. They fall back now quite a bit. Okay, Assyria is going to build a city here. They could have built more cities, but they wanna stop at that moment, and they prefer to expand their population in the next turn. Similar situation with Babylon here. They build a city to here to kind of prevent Assyria from entering their space. In the same way Assyria is building cities here. It's kind of a wall, protection against Babylon. It's hard to attack a city, you know. If you want to attack a city, you need at least 7 troops to enter that space. And then there might be even an option for the defender to reinforce that city with their own units. So that's obviously a pretty tough thing, and cities are mostly kind of safe from attacks, but not always. Egypt is going to build another city down here. It could have been a good idea for them to wait a little bit before they do this, because yeah, they don't have too much population, And maybe they should have waited for a turn to expand the population more, but then again, they need these 3 civilization cards pretty soon. Therefore, I decided to build another city, which gives me more trade cards then. Okay, so now we are already at the point where the first deck is depleted. So that means simply now that the last players, Egypt and Thrace, are not allowed to draw from this deck and therefore get 1 less card than they would have get normally. Okay, so that is Egypt. And then finally it's Thrace. And we see here this red back of the card. That means it's a catastrophe. So the next player who has the least cities, probably Crete, he's gonna end up with this catastrophe, which is pretty bad because it will throw him back even further. Okay. And now we see actually trade for the first time. Many players have now quite a few trade cards. So basically, what's the goal of trading? And that's an important part of the goal of the game. Well, I already told you the goal of the game is to reach this finish line here. And you need some kind of points to move on to these spaces here. How do you get these points? Well, most of them you get by collecting these civilization cards. They all give you a number of points. At the end of the game, you can hold in your hand a maximum of 11 of these civilization cards. Now that's interesting because if you hold only the crappy ones, the cheap ones, you might end up not having enough points so that you cannot enter these spaces. You can always pay from your treasure and always use your trade cards to gain additional points to your civilization cards. But it's definitely helpful to get as many cards as possible. And yeah, therefore not only buy the cheap ones, but also buy good ones. In addition, they will give you advantages that will help you to deal with these catastrophes, or called calamities in this game. So how do you get these cards? Well, the cost of these cards is exactly the points they give you. So these cards cost 60. There are some way to reduce the price, but that's the general price. And first you can pay with your treasury, but that is usually not that high. So the main part is going to be paid with trade cards. Now how does that work? Well, each trade card has a value, and that's the base value of the card. So this card is worth 3, that card is worth 1, and it goes up to gold, which is worth 9. But obviously that's not a lot, and to gain, I don't know, 100 points or 80 points or something, it would take a very long time. But you can collect sets, and then these cards become more valuable. For example, here, if you have 2 papyrus, you can see up here the value. 1 would be 2, 2 cards would be 8. If you have 3 cards, would be worth 18, and so on. over here, this guy has 3 cards of heights. Now 1 card is only worth 1, but if you have 3, they're actually worth 9. So that's the goal of trade. You're trying to get sets of the same cards here. So the way trade works is a player makes an offer, and there have to be 3 informations in this offer. First, how many cards you trade. You have to trade at least 3 cards. Second, the overall value of the cards, where you take also this, these sets into consideration. And third, one of the type of the cards, but only one of them is necessary to tell. So for example, if I would trade these 3 cards now, I could say I want to trade iron 3 cards for 9. I could also say I want to trade height 3 cards for 9. That's also an option here. So, to be honest, the last time I played that game with more players was actually when I was a child. And now I got a question to you, because I couldn't find an answer here in the rules. Can I also how many informations am I allowed to give? You know, the rules say that these are the informations that have to be true. They don't say that you cannot give additional information. So, for example, can I say, I offer this and I want that in return? I mean, is that, you know, can I do also demands? Can I ask these kind of questions? Or can I simply only say what I offer, and then I have to listen to all the others to all the other offers and find what I want? Or can I make demands? That's my basic question. Now when I play it solo, I kind of say, okay, I'm gonna make an offer and I'm also gonna make a demand, and then I do some dice rolling, and well, in some way I find some interesting trades then. Of course, that's a pretty big problem if you play solitaire. Doing trades is not a simple thing, but I found basically a pretty easy way to manage that with a little common sense and some dice rolling. So that worked out fine usually. Okay, so now I'm gonna do the trade. Okay, we're at the end of the trade phase now. Well, mixed results. Italy managed to get an additional salt. Same here with Thrace. Babylon has 4 iron, which is pretty good. Egypt, it wasn't doing too well. They managed to gain an additional papyrus, but gave away their salt in return, hoping to maybe collect a 4th papyrus, but that wasn't possible for them. Okay, now we can acquire trade cards or civilization cards. And well, let me see. This time it actually is from its reverse AST order. So I'm pretty sure Egypt, well, can they afford something? Now they have overall, that's 18, that would be 20, that's 24, 25, and if they throw in their money, they are at 29. So the minimum you have to pay is 30. So I'm afraid Egypt is not able to gain one of these cards. By the way, at the end of the turn, you're allowed to hold on to 6 cards. So if you have more than 6 cards at the end of your turn, you have to discard them. So Babylon, they could actually buy, yeah, they could spend their 32 for iron, and that actually saves Crete, because, oh no, that's not correct, because the cards go underneath the pile. So that means the catastrophe stays on top here. And then they're gonna buy the mysticism here. So that also already gives them now their first 2 colors they need of the 3 colors to advance into the next age. So that's a pretty valuable card for Babylon here, especially because there are only 2 left now. So nobody else can afford to buy any of these civilization cards. And another thing which is interesting, you can see here on the card, down there, a triangle with a 5, and on the right, a circle with a 20. Well, that means this is the credit you get if you buy another civilization card of these types. So if he buys now another blue civilization card or a triangle civilization card, he would get a credit of 5. So the blue ones are these, and here the civic card, these very advanced ones, they have this geometrical form here, the triangle, what's it called, quadrat, I don't know, and a circle. And now this is 20. That's a pretty high discount then for the green ones. Okay, nobody else was able to acquire trade cards. So that means we simply move on now with the AST. Italy can enter the early Bronze Age because they have 3 cities. Thrace can do the same with 4 cities. Obviously, Crete is still in trouble. They fall back a little further because they only have 1 city here on the map. Syria moves on, Babylon moves on, and Africa moves on. Egypt. Okay, I'm going to do another quick turn, and yeah. Rome has built 2 ships, one up here, another one down there, and they're heading now for Africa here. Thrace has maintained their ship. They want to go probably on that island here. And during the movement phase now, Assyria has to start, and they're gonna build 3 new cities. They actually could have built another city in this area here, but they decided not to. They can support their cities, but if we see too many attacks here, it might happen that they would lose one of their newly built cities because they cannot support all of them. They're gonna leave some additional units in this area and in that area just to make it less attractive for other guys to attack there. And then during the next turn they're gonna grow more population here, and one in Turkey, and that will then also allow them to support more cities. And they are pretty far ahead now with cities anyway, so I think they're just happy here. Let's see what the others do. Okay, so we're going to see a little conflict first up here. That's basically not so interesting. The point is that simply the land cannot support all the people anymore. So they said, hey, this is not going to be a serious war. Just, yeah, let's got to understand it. I'm going to send your people to you, and well, basically not too much happens here. So in the end, they nearly lose the people they had at the beginning of the fight. So this land is now still at 5, and this is here at 4. So no hard feelings here. Then we see here the battle. So Crete tries to defend his space of living down here. So they're attacking Thrace here and trying to come back a little bit. That's extremely important, otherwise they don't have any room to survive. Okay, so that's the end of the conflict, and then we're going to see again lots of new cities built. We start here with Italy or with Rome. So that's an interesting city here because it's next to a volcano. So that city could be destroyed any time. Same thing here. So by the way, Rome managed here to enter Africa. And we see here city, the second city of Crete, which is placed here now. Over there, Thracia or Thrace places a city. And let me see, we have here Assyria. And Assyria is really rocking now. I mean, they're building 3 cities in this turn alone, going down the Levante coast here. That's pretty impressive. Babylon also is going to build 2 cities. One here and another one here in the floodplain. That's a little risky, but well, it's Babylon, right? And similar problems here. Egypt is also going to build a city here in the floodplain of the Nile, but well, that's the risk these civilizations have to take. Okay, now we got to remove surplus population, and this time that's going to happen. For example, here. Yeah, exactly. I just left some people there to secure the area, and anything else? Yeah, up there I forgot to move, but that's okay. Okay, now we're gonna acquire new trade cards. Crete goes first because they have the least cities, which sucks for them. So these cards are all gone, so they don't get that. And the second card they get, and they will only get 2 cards, the second card is a catastrophe, volcanic eruption or earthquake. This is going to be solved later after the trade actions, actually. So we're going to place that card for now here. And that will bring Crete in even more trouble now. Okay, so a few people ended up with well, quite a number of cards. Italy here managed to draw its third salt, so did up there Thrace. Assyria has now here the famine. That's pretty bad too for them. Egypt has also some interesting cards, but they need to make a good deal or so, because what they have is not worth that much. So let's do the trading now. Okay, we had some interesting deals, especially the salt and grain deals. So this guy has has a little salt. This has pretty much, which is worth a lot. Also grain. Here we have cloth. Here we have papyrus, iron, ochre. So we might see some cards going away now, and the Egypt players can start. So I'm pretty sure he wants mysticism now. So this is 18. These two are worth 18. That would be 36. But that's a waste of $6. I wonder. Okay, let's see. This is 18. That's 9. So that's 27. So if he throws in $3, it's actually 30. But well, I think he's going to throw away the iron. So that would be then 30, and that allows him to buy the mysticism card. And you also have to remember, you cannot hold more than 6 cards, six trade cards in your hand. So you want to spend these cards sometime. So Assyria also has to get rid of some cards. What they're going to do is they're going to spend the 2 claws for 20. The papyrus is 28. Throw in this iron, and then they can actually afford the last mysticism card. And these go back. Okay, Thrace has here $48. That's a lot. So they might actually take that and buy pottery. The good thing is that would help them against the famine if they have grain, and they do have grain. So I think that's exactly what happens here. Thrace buys pottery, and well, then they lose $3, but I think that's okay here. So, and finally we're going to see what Italy does. That gives them 27. That's not so great, but they want to get rid of some cards too. So that's, let's see, that's 27, 32. That's 36. Oh boy. They don't get the 45. So they can't afford anything, I'm afraid. Let's see again. That's 27, that's 32, 36, 40, 42, and $1. So they can only make it to 43. That's really bad luck. So it seems like they have to discard 2 cards, right? So it's probably going to be these then. Okay, well, So that's now the acquire civilization cards action. And then we have to resolve, oh, and we have to return the excess trade cards right now. So that's what we do. These two go away. So, and then we have to resolve the calamities. And we do this here in numerical order. So we start with the volcanic eruption or earthquake. So let's see. The player has no units by a volcano. He must reduce one of his cities as a result of an earthquake. He may also demand the reduction of one other player's city in the area adjacent to his own city, even across water. So he cannot do the latter. He's going to reduce this city. Reducing means it's not completely destroyed, but the population that the area can support stays alive in the area. But of course, that's a really, really, really bad hit for Crete. Now that they just seem to come back a little bit, they didn't get any income from their cities, no trade cards at all. And in addition, they lose that city due to an earthquake. That really sucks. Now here they could have kept 2 instead of only 1 unit, but I think here on the island it's harder to rebuild the city. So I think it was better to destroy that one here. If I would have played it clever, I would have actually built the city here, because then because I already knew that that earthquake would come, so I could have kept 2 instead of 1. But okay, that was a little sloppy here. So now this card here goes back underneath the deck. And then we see this famine, which is pretty painful. The player loses 9-point units. So a city in this calamity phase is worth 5 points. So he can also destroy cities if he wants to. Himself, and he may instruct other players to remove up to 20 unit points, but not more than 11 from any individual. The player decides how many unit points the others shall lose, but they themselves decide which one to remove. Any player with a pottery civilization card may reduce his loss by 4 unit points for each grain trade card he holds. Now that's pretty tough, actually. So let's see. First, Assyria loses 9. That sucks. Because that will probably also, if he removes 9 units, I'm pretty sure he cannot support all his cities anymore. 4, 5, 6. Okay, let's do some counting here. 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 9, 10, 11. That's 13, 15, 17, 18, 19. So no. So that means we have to destroy a city. Okay. Now I'm simply gonna take that one. So these were 5 units. And then I have to remove 4 additional units. Okay. So where is that gonna happen? I think I'm gonna take one here, one here, one here, and maybe another one here. Okay. So I think I want to hit Babylon and Rome. Babylon is right next to me and they're kind of dangerous. And Rome is the upcoming power, I think, especially now that they made it here to Africa. So they both have to take a loss of 10 units. So let's see. I think Rome probably will remove a city. 2, possibly this one here. And then, well, maybe 1. Oh boy. No, that's tough actually. 2, 3, 4. Well, this guy shouldn't be here, by the way. Should be dead. Okay, so it's 3. Shit. 4. Yeah, that really sucks. 5. Okay. Let's see if we have enough to support the rest. I hope so. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, obviously we do. We have only 5 cities left. 4 cities left. So, yeah. Okay, that's how we want to do it. So they are in a similar problem, so I think they're going to destroy also at least 1 city. And then remove, well, a few guys up there, I think. It's not so bad. Okay, so that means now they have, yeah, they should definitely have enough to support their 4 cities. Well, actually, I could even think about keeping that city. I'm not sure. Got to count here. Okay, actually, I kept that city, and I still have enough people to support my 5 cities, and I'm doing actually pretty well. Okay, so that's the famine then, and it also goes under the deck, underneath the deck, and now we would actually reduce our unsupported cities, which is not the case. We don't have to do that, and then we have to move on the AST. So Italy is allowed to move on. Thrace. Crete is still not, so they are, for them it's probably too late, I assume. Egypt cannot move on either. They have mysticism, which is a 2-color card, but they need 1 additional card of another color, possibly orange, maybe green, to move on into the next age. So that means they will also lose a turn or another turn. Fine. So Italy, Thrace, Assyria, they are ahead. Italy might have problems getting all the cards together in the next turn, but maybe not. I'm not sure about that. Assyria, we'll see about that. They only have mysticism right now. So I'm not sure they can get 45 points out of their cities. Maybe they can. I mean, with the sword and so on, maybe they can make an interesting deal. So they might also be able to do it. Yeah. Let's see what comes up next turn. Hope to see you then, and well, bye.